Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is...
Hi, everybody. Welcome to The World According to G.U.S. I'm your host, Charles Eduardos, and The World According to G.U.S, God, Universe, Spirit. You know, there's so many different viewpoints and approaches to spirituality in the world, and this is what we want to explore on The World According to G.U.S. My basic background happens to be Christianity, but don't run away. I'm not one of those closed types, and I enjoy exploring and understanding the depth and the wisdom that are held in various traditions around the world, and seeing how so many of these different traditions and methodologies and approaches are basically in such harmony and unity in approach as to what they're trying to attain and what is being searched for. So we're going to explore that from Vedanta to Advaita Vedanta, to Buddhism, Taoism, to shamanism, all of the various different approaches, Islam and the various branches of Islam, Sunni, Sufi, uh, Shia, Islam. There's such richness in all of the spiritual traditions of the world. And the world, according to G.U.S, is all about, in a peaceful, loving manner, exploring and being open to the differences that we have and building bridges across those valleys of difference that we may have and bring more unity into the world. And my guest today is none other than Sara Troy, who is responsible for my being here even. So welcome, Sara. I'm just so delighted to be a part of the Self-Discovery Radio team now.
And we are delighted to have you. Right from the word go, we hit it off. We've done many shows together. And when you said you wanted to join our network, it was woohoo! So, and of course, it's for me to be on the other side of the court here. But I'm really happy that you are here doing what you're doing, because you are going to broaden the minds and just show people really the common denominator of all religions is meant to be in love and kindness, and how we can get back there, which is really, really important.
Absolutely. And the word, even religion, it comes from, well, there's some question about the etymology of the word, but it has to do with re-ligamenting, reconnecting. And religion is intended to be our means of connecting to that higher power, connecting to God, universe, spirit, connecting to those higher powers and everything. And there are different ways. It's naturally going to emerge out of the various cultures around the world. But the hard piece is when we expect everybody to be like us, and our way is the better way. My God's better than your God, Sara.
My God's the universe.
Well, there you go. My God's bigger than yours.
It's the universal energy, which was in every single one of us, so we're all part of God. And I think that's the thing we're missing, isn't it? We're so busy on labeling and segregating and dividing and putting everybody in a nice little container box that we're forgetting the common denominator. And It doesn't really matter what our vehicle is, what skin we're driving in. We're all part of that universal energy, which is all part of the God energy. And how we represent ourselves in life is how we're representing our God.
Exactly. One of the things that's, I think, challenging for Christians in many schools of thought too is when you really start to get into what Jesus taught, there's not a whole lot of difference between what Jesus taught and Advaita Vedanta. The Jesus was teaching non-dual thinking, a non-dual consciousness, the oneness. So, and again, when you look at, I think we had discussed this before. One time we talked about how the difference between what Jesus actually taught and how Christians act. It's just, there's a
It's interpretation, isn't it? I think interpretation comes a lot to do with what suits one. What suits us. I will practice this religion because it suits me and it gives me that right to judge. It gives me that right to condemn. But I'm not going to be accountable for the things because I don't need to be under this umbrella, right? And we use that religion, I think, as an excuse for bad behavior. And we forget what the real message is. So how much is being taught? How much have we misconstrued? Our teachings just used to be more one-on-one or within groups, smaller communities. And now, now, of course, it's much broader. Perhaps the message has been lost or misconstrued. And of course, in the media, especially political media, we're seeing an enormous divide.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's a whole series of programs right there.
That's a gong show.
Yeah, really. Well, Sara, tell me about your journey from childhood and growing up and the journey for you, your spiritual journey.
Well, I was a child of the universe right from the word go, and we weren't a religious family. We were Protestant, brought up in England, and went to church now and again. Of course, when I went to school, we always went to church as going to school. But I always was a person who, without knowing, was a channeler. The knowingness. I always call it when people have that gut feeling. Why do you know? I don't know, I just know. And I call that the divine essence, the soul essence speaking to us, that then resonates with the heart in conviction and passion, that goes to our spirit in articulation or action, and the mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And as a child, I always seemed to know things that people needed to know at the time they needed to know it, but it was beyond my comprehension of even what I knew. So I was always a person to ride that vibration. I saw dead people, I played with dead people, and for me, I didn't see the difference because it was all the energy I seemed to be tapped into. And so I consider myself a person of great faith, of great spiritual, universal God faith. I just don't contain myself under a church label. And I'm more into practice what I am as opposed to speaking to what I am. Sure.
Well, and the interesting thing about that too is, and within Christianity, one of the things that's been lost is we see throughout the Old Testament, there were people that were led by God, by Gus, through dreams and visions. There were those that were referred to in the scriptures as seers. And so we've kind of put that away. That has now become,
hocus
for the
pocus.
most part, it's of the devil.
Yeah.
It is New Age. There's all these labels again. These judgments against partaking or being involved in any of these things, and even to the extent where in the early days of the church, how many people were burned at the stake and beheaded and everything by the church for having these gifts from God, but out of that big F word, fear and lack of understanding, they ended up losing their lives. Even Polycarp, one of the early church fathers, burned alive because he was just not in sync with the status quo, so to speak.
In sync. That I think is a really big one. It's I had recently a past life regression, and it revealed quite a few things. And one of them is, at least for the last 50 lifetimes, I have been persecuted. So I've been torn and quartered, burnt at the stake, drowned, everything, because I've always been in my existence a spiritual teacher, a soul awakener. It's always been what I have in every thread, and I was persecuted greatly for it. And of course, this lifetime is me coming back into my empowerment of spirit without persecution. And I think this is a wonderful state that we're in right now, because we can discuss, we can open up, we can allow these other things. To some people, I'm just heretic or far out there, or where's the white coat. And and other people, it's like, oh, you too feel like this, you too are a seer, or this or that, this has happened to you too, I'm not crazy. And I think what we need to do is take the luxury of ignorance away, and understand that this has always been since the beginning of time, but it became the devil's work as a form of control for the church.
Yes, exactly. There's and for those of us who are clergy, there is the mindset for some that I have to protect my turf. You need to go through me in order to get to God, as opposed to again, what Christ taught was everybody can go on their own. And he, even one of the Old Testament scriptures, it talked about you will need no one to teach you. You will become your own teacher. And I have to tease you a little bit about playing with dead people. They certainly weren't dead if you're playing with them. And see,
let's play with their energy.
but part of our conditioning, we consider this to be life. And there is so much more to life than this particular vibrational rate of existence. There are, even science is talking about, there are multiple dimensions. I think they set up to 13 dimensions that they are able to measure now. So there are people right there with you in your room, here with me in my room, on a totally different dimension.
Exactly.
And there are times when is it possible that we can move from dimension to dimension? Well, if you're crazy, you're not by yourself. Okay?
That's good to know.
You're not alone.
Avoiding those white coats.
Precisely. Get her first. No.
So I keep moving.
Oh, that's too funny. But that's the thing that we tend to, and you brought that word fear up, and that's so true. We tend to demonize what we fear, and fear what we don't understand, let's first seek to understand a little bit about what this is. And Mark Twain put it beautifully when he said, God created humanity in his image, and humanity returned the favor. So we've made God to be just as neurotic and psychotic as we are. So, and that's unfortunate, but anyway.
The thing is, I think in what we do when we look at God is that, it's meant to be so utterly pure and truthful, and and untouchable. And what we forget as human beings is that we're so beautifully flawed. And this is what makes us unique. And this is why we're here. We're here to be able to rise up to those other dimensions and get to a point where we don't need the vessel anymore, but the vessel is here to teach us. And each life lesson is something that helps us rise up, to those other dimensions. And understanding we are flawed, and that a lot of it is emotional. And I always say to people, be emotionally tuned in, but don't be emotional about it. You know,
Ah,
tap
good.
into the emotions at the moment, because those moments, whether you're anger, joy, hurt, pain, they're significant to what's going on in your life at
Yeah.
that moment. Pay attention to it, but
Yes.
don't get stuck in it. Don't
Yes.
become emotional about it, because that's, I think, where we're looking at the present moment. That emotional responsive is something that you're meant to address and then move on, has become an hysteria and lost all its reasoning and even what the core problem was in the first place.
Exactly right. And even to the extent you look at some of the arguments and disagreements that people have, and many times it's over words, the
Yes.
choice of words. It's over cultural differences. If we learn to listen at a deeper level, I think we'll hear many times. And then if we even take the role of active listening, did I hear you say this? And then maybe even explaining, okay, if I'm hearing you correctly, I kind of understand what you're saying in this way.
Yes.
Does this make sense to you?
Right.
And finding that place of harmony as opposed to cacophony,
Yeah.
finding that place of mutual resonance, because some people they're vibrating at a different rate. I want to say higher or lower, but
It's a different frequency. Yeah.
different frequency, different understanding, different method of articulating, but it all comes down to the truth of Gus's
Yes.
world. It is ultimately the same. And I do believe that as we ascend in our consciousness and understanding of these things, it all begins to make sense.
Yes. There's a huge thing too called tone. And don't take that tone with me. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's not even the word, sometimes the tone. And
yeah,
in
yeah.
the tone that you choose to say the words is very much how they're going to be received.
Yes.
And I think we forget that,
Yeah.
again, with the world of texting
Yes.
and everything else, is that, and especially abbreviations, it's losing its tone.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
people can take some words literally. They don't have the tone or the, to understand where it's coming from.
Yes.
And, the art of actual conversation is speaking to one another and stepping into a tone which sets the premises of how somebody's going to receive the information. So I think we have to be very mindful, not only of our words, but in the tone that we take, because it either shuts people down or it opens the door to them.
So now that is, and help me understand here, if I understand this correctly, that has to do with the energy that is behind. So you have the energy of intention,
Yes.
and you have the energy that comes from, as you're saying, the tone. Um, for example, in your charming way, you can say to me, "Here you are, my love," or you can say, "Here."
Right.
And
Exactly.
there's a dramatic difference for me. I felt it
Yeah.
even as I said it.
Yes, exactly. It's a
And
different energy in which you're doing things. It's like if you wish to disagree with someone,
yes,
you're wrong. You're wrong. You're a moron. And it's not just the words, but the voice that you're sending in is
yes,
so condescending. And so immediately it either brings up an argument or it shuts people down.
yeah,
But if
yeah,
instead you said, I don't get where you're coming from on that.
yeah.
Where do you come to that information? It now
Yeah,
is more inquiring. You're not condemning. You're
right,
not
right,
judging. You're inquiring because you're not on the same page. But
right.
how do you get to that page to see where they're looking at? So we have to be very, very mindful
Yes.
because as human beings, which is not godly, we have
Yeah.
become so judgmental.
Ah.
And who are we to judge?
I think that most of your sacred writings of all traditions have something to say about that. I know for certain the Christian scripture says, "Judge not, lest you be judged."
Mm-hmm.
But we oftentimes just have to. We want to find those places where, well, we're supposed to, we're justified. No,
Yeah.
the way we judge
Yeah.
is by how we act and how we respond.
And how we justify that judgment, which, you just hit on, is
Yeah.
why are we justifying judgment, especially
Yes.
when it's based in fear and ignorance?
Yeah.
How can we justify that? And where does accountability come in and responsibility for that
See,
judgment?
now you had to go there. You're
I
going
did.
to hold people accountable?
I am. Be responsible for your actions and your words and your intent.
Well, and exactly, because as you said earlier, and I have to totally agree with you, and we again have the science today. Everything ultimately is energy.
Yes.
This microphone here in front of me is a solid piece here, steel and wiring and whatnot. But if you continue to go down into electron microscopy, and you get down to where you're looking at, and actually even when you look at an electron, there's nothing there. An electron is really a cloud of probability, but there's no, some group, I think it was in Luzerne, they photographed an electron, and you saw two of them. There were two electrons, and they said, no, it's not two. That's the same electron. It's one. So it's the truth. The world, according to Gus, is spookier than we ever imagined, and the truth of Gus is just so far beyond our conscious understanding at this point. And I believe Gus is inviting us to open our mind.
Yes. We step into God in faith.
Yes.
Why can we not have the same faith on things we don't see, like those neutrons and the energy?
Yeah.
The energy is running through every single one of us. Just because we're not plugged in doesn't mean that the oxygen in the blood and nerve endings, fiber optics, everything is running on a frequency. Every single thing in our body.
Yes.
Every single thing in the universe. When we talk about the universe and the connection and God, it is all in the fiber optics of energy, which very interestingly now scientists are beginning to actually understand spirituality.
Yes.
They always looked at spirituality as people that were woo-woo and kumbaya. And now they're beginning to actually understand it is a measurable science. They have measured the energy of people who choose to live in a spiritual plane on a higher vibration. And in that vibration of frequency, they can understand why these people are the way they are. Right. And so we're waking up to the fact that everything is a mathematical equation and a frequency. Everything can come down to science. But when you're looking at God, when you're looking at spirituality, there's some common denominators, but a great deal of one of them is the faith. I cannot see it, but it is something you feel. It's something you know. And you don't have to articulate what you know. You just have to trust what you know.
Exactly. And Sara, you hit it right there. You hit it. Going back to your very beginnings. That inward knowing that cannot be put into words, that cannot be explained, that cannot be described even, well, how do you know? It's not like you can say, well, here, I put 1 plus 1 and it equals 2. Well, how do you know it's 347? I can't tell you. I just know. And boom, there it happens. So these are things, and part of our arrogance, I call it arrogance as humans, is we feel as though Gus is accountable to us.
Yeah.
To explain these things to us, like, inquiring minds need to know. Well, you can know, but not on your terms.
Right. And that's actually what knowingness is, and the challenge of knowingness is that you know what you need to know when you need to know it. You don't need to validate, verify, justify. It just is. And
Sure.
that's where I think the faith of God or Gus comes into it, is
Yes.
I believe in the knowledge I have received right now, for it just is, because everything about me, my entire core, is in sync, is
Okay.
in that knowingness, in that truth, in that moment.
Yes.
And that is the faith and the trust of that knowledge in that moment. Why do we as human beings now have to say, yes, but validate that? Knowingness, and you hit on it earlier about it has always been where Jesus taught people to connect
Yeah.
to the faith. And then, of course, the church came along and said, you can't reach God without going through a priest.
Right.
Right? And the priest will control how much you're going to get and whether you're worthy or not.
Right.
And then people lost that God connection.
Yeah.
And now what we're saying, it's coming back, folks. It's making a comeback.
Yeah.
About reclaiming our connection to God, to Gus, and that we can channel and we can open up and we can feel this at any time. But we have to step into that faith of understanding that when we're in that knowingness, and you know it, you can't argue with it. This is your truth in that moment, and you don't need to justify it or verify it or validate it to anyone. It simply is. If they can't accept it, that's their issue. It's not yours.
Exactly. Exactly right. And again, Jesus said, the kingdom is within you.
Yes.
We're looking outside, looking for other people. Of course, back in the day, again, it was about the power and the controlling people. And of course, one of the things that Martin Luther railed against, this whole thing of selling. People had to purchase their forgiveness of sins and purchase these indulgences and whatnot. And it's just so it was real high crimes and misdemeanors. It was racketeering.
Yeah.
Then, and it's unfortunate.
And it still is, and in some of the church industries, it is an entire corporation. And the fiscal needs, and that God isn't going to even let you in the house unless you pay. As you said in one of your shows about I want to know your bank statement before you can join the church.
I mean, I've been astounded that I've heard of a few churches that require their people to show their W-2s and whatnot, and they tell them how much that they're going to give if they're going to be a member of that church. And I guess what's astounding to me is that people will go along with something like that.
That's the thing. I mean, people are always going to get away with something if other people are going to give away their power.
Yeah, well, that's true. And it's giving away. But that even comes out of fear.
Yes.
You can't buy your way into heaven.
No.
And
fear
again,
versus faith. Fear versus faith, right? The double F's.
Well, exactly right. Exactly right. Whatever is not of faith is of fear.
Yeah.
And again, the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Yes.
So you can't buy your way in. There's so much just sitting right there in scriptures, in the Christian scriptures, that contradict some of the stuff that's being put down. And well, as Christ himself put it in his day, talking to the pastors of his day, he said, you guys are teaching for doctrine your own traditions. It's this control thing that you got going. So and then of course we see him turning over the table of the money changers, and in the church they're doing big business right in the temple and everything. So there's a lot that's been lost, but true religion is about re-ligamenting each individual into their personal connectedness to God, universe, spirit.
Ascending.
And it's not
their vibration.
Exactly. And it's not that there won't be people like me, people like yourself, that are spiritual teachers to help people along the way. And interestingly enough, in India, the people don't even think about going to a holy person, a spiritual teacher, without bringing some type of a gift. our Western tradition, I think we're more in tune with what we can get away with not giving than
Yes.
we are in just, and which cuts us off from, again, the flow of the
Yeah.
universe. So
It's more about what you owe me,
yeah, right.
right? It's like, well, what am I going to get out of it? You
Yeah,
know,
it's all about me. Didn't you
yeah.
know that, Sara?
Yeah.
It's all about Charles.
And you know what? To a certain point, yes, it is. It's about who you are and what you're going to be of service to humanity with your gift. So
Yeah,
unless you are an I am,
yeah,
you can't be part of a we are. So yes, there's a certain amount of selfishness where we must become abundant and rich within ourselves in order for our cup to run us over.
right.
But the moment you're doing something and say, but what am I going to get out of it? What
Yeah,
are you going to
right.
give me for it? You have now misconstrued what the exchange is about.
Exactly.
Because when you do step into the abundance of self, you can't help but cup runneth over. And that's where you're
Exactly.
then stepping
Exactly.
into the gratitude of what your cup runneth over, and people gift you for that.
Exactly. The joy of
Yeah.
why, what's in it for me? The joy, because this
Yes.
feels really good
Yes.
being able
Yes.
to do this for you. And and again, the scripture says, give, expecting nothing in return.
Exactly. And the
So
thing is you keep giving. And I've
yes.
seen this through my life as a spiritual counselor and even doing these shows, is it's, for me, when I helped people, they went out there and I never heard from them again.
Hmm.
Um, and, with the shows, they're out there, they're in that ether, they're doing their
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I may or may not connect again. And then every now and again, you get somebody, I've just listened to this show, it's changed my life or it's saved my life. And then you go, the satisfaction, the knowing that what you're doing is on the right track. And it's,
Yes.
and it's a question of, in the 2,000 shows we've done here, if it's one person we've helped, hallelujah,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And it's not
Yeah.
about the numbers game, it's about the inspiration for the invitation. If you inspire people to rise up, you're
Yes.
inviting them to believe in their own divine energy, their own
Yes.
Gus,
Yes.
and step
Yes.
into their
Yes.
I am to become the part of the we are.
Yes. Now, and so here again, what you're teaching right there is very much in line with what Jesus taught.
Mhm.
That that I am in each one of us, that I
Yes.
amness,
Yes.
the uh, the whole teaching that he did about I am the vine, you are the branches, his high priestly prayer in the Gospel of John when he prayed that he talked about how he and the Father were one, and he prayed that we, humanity, would be one with him as he was one with the Father, and that we would then be one with the Father as he is one with the. So he's right there
Yes.
teaching non-dual, that
Yeah.
we are all
We're
connected.
connected. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. In the words of the immortal prophets, the Beatles, I am he as you are me, and we are all together, goo goo be choo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Come together right now.
there you
That,
go.
but that's the thing is that we're being told this through song, through poets, through
Yes,
art,
yes,
through artistry.
yes.
It's there all the time. But we're very selective in what we receive, what we choose to receive, and what goes over the head. And it's like, well, it's asking me to be accountable or to be responsible or to be broad-minded or to open up from my place of in the box, open up that box and see what's out there. And it's a lot to ask people who are in that realm, because it is terrifying for them to step outside of that box of what they know. So
That's
they
what
rather
they
judge it and condemn it rather than do it.
now, and that is, we are all conditioned from birth along particular lines of thinking, and we have habituated patterns. Some of your patterns are habituated from your childhood,
Yep.
but there are other patterns from your childhood that you consciously broke free from
Yes.
and said, that doesn't work for me.
No.
Okay. And
That's a wrong thing.
everybody's not able to do that.
No.
So one of the things that hopefully we'll explore throughout this series of shows and everything is getting down to, so what is it? How do we help people break from those habituated patterns? How do we help open the eyes? Again, going back to my foundation, Jesus said, let them who have eyes see, let those who have ears hear. Because a lot of times the message is there, but folks aren't hearing.
No.
We hear what we want to hear.
That's the problem. I always say, in order to see, hear, and feel, we need to be blind, deaf, and dumb. Right? And, when we can step into our blindness, our deafness, and our dumbness, we're ready to receive what it is we need to hear, see, and feel.
Yeah.
Because this head of ours, this thing above our shoulder, is dictating how we should receive information, what this information means in our reaction in society. Do I fit in? Am I standing out? Am I alone, or am I a part of the pack? Is it fearful? Dare I say it? And all of that chatter goes on. And because we're not connected to the heart or the soul or the spirit, because this is the whole of us, the universe, the heart, the soul, and the spirit that uses the data in the head, if we're not working on all of those cylinders, we're constantly going to be the hamster on the treadmill, but, and never actually take any action, because we're stuck in the what ifs.
Yeah, right. Well, and you touched on something right there too. Sometimes we're too much in the head and we forget the heart and the gut. We have basically, and this is teaching from Enneagram, we have everybody is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. There's the 9 basic types. So you have the 3 body types, the 8, 9, 1. You have the 3 heart types, which is the 2, 3, 4. And then you have the 3 head types, which is the 5, 6, 7. So when we become integrated, there's a balance between that. But myself leading with a 7, I tend to be more head-centered, but through my meditation practice of years, I'm a lot more heart-centered than maybe the average 7 person. So, and then
what is the heart soul? Because I'm completely driven from that.
I'm sorry?
The heart soul. I mean, that's completely where I'm driven from. I can't see anything unless it goes through the heart first.
Okay, and so that may indicate that you're a 2, 3, or a 4, possibly, in the Enneagram, or you may have a strong wing in that or whatever. But that's one of Enneagram is a tool for self-knowledge and helping people to grow. And
rather like the true colors, which I'm a coach of. The 4 key personalities, true colors.
True colors. Yes. And we talked about that before too. The different instruments that are used. And Enneagram is ancient. Oh my God, goes back. Gurdjieff, George Ivanovich Gurdjieff is the one that kind of brought it back, and then Naranjo and Ichazo are the 2 contemporary gentlemen that brought it to the Enneagram of personality that we're attuned with now. But again, just a way to understand these things. And then we have Heart Math Institute with their science that is now saying the heart actually sends more messages to the head, to the brain, than the brain sends to the heart.
Yes.
And the heart is made up of neurons. Many of the cells, about somewhere close to half of the cells that make up the heart, are neuron cells.
Yes.
So
we forget about the heart spirit intelligence. You know, we
Yeah.
think the intelligence is all up here, you know,
Mm-mm.
and it isn't. You know, this is why I say if we're not working on the other cylinders, we're not bringing the soul, heart, and
Yes.
spirit into the equation, we're only
Exactly.
working on a quarter of the information. And
Exactly.
that is data bound.
Right.
Right? It's
Right.
not, you know, the intellect of the mind is the accumulation of knowledge. The intellect of the heart and the soul is divine knowledge, energy knowledge. And the spirit then knows
Wisdom.
what's the wisdom. You know,
Wisdom.
there's so many
Yeah.
people that I know that are highly intelligent,
Right.
right? NBAs, the DDAs, you name it, all going off after their letters.
Right.
But they are knowledge based, but they don't have the wisdom to know how to use that
Right.
knowledge.
Right. Right. And that's there's a difference between the knowledge in that regard and the deeper gnosis, and again the Sophia, the wisdom,
Yeah.
perennial wisdom. And this is what the world according to Gus is dedicated to, looking at that. And we invite those that would want to be even a guest to or suggestions for guests to have these types of open discussions about where this uh, real knowledge, the
Yeah.
gnosis and the wisdom really emanate from, and no one has an exclusive on it.
No.
You know, nobody
No,
has it
how
exclusive.
could we? How could we carry all that information on there? You know, we're not meant
Yeah,
to. You know,
right.
this is, you know, we are a village. You know, we're made up of groups of people that are going to make the village strong. It's not like you know, there's maybe a leader that is the inspirer that
Mm,
guides us on path or in strength or in being able to connect people together, which we always look up to. But we have to understand is that that village is only as strong as our participation, our
exactly.
openness, our dialogue, our communication. And we've got to stop looking at, you know, I mean, obviously what we're looking at the present moment, especially in North America, is this black white thing. You are
Yeah.
either a person of color or you're white. White is supremacy. You know, let's forget about the damn color and
Mm,
start looking at us from the inside out, because we're
mm.
colorless inside.
Yes.
And you know, we've all got the same blood. You know, we've
Yes.
all got the same desires. We all want
Yes.
to love, to be loved, to count, to know that we're here for a reason,
Yes.
to be a part of that village in
Yes.
whatever way. And if
Yes.
you say, oh, I don't, that means you're not heart connected. And what
Yes.
is stopping you from being heart connected? Where
Well,
was the disconnect?
exactly. Exactly. One of the questions, and I'll just, by means of demonstration here, when you think about it, as you and our listeners, as you're sitting there, notice yourself and your posture that you're in, and notice your body breathing. And then I want you to notice who is noticing that.
Mm,
Who is noticing your posture? Who's noticing your body breathing? And does that one that is seeing this, is that observer male or female? Is that observer black or white? Yeah. It's just a beginning of getting to the point of the real self, the true I am
yes,
at the core of each of us
yes,
isn't any of these things.
no.
So,
When we're willing to have a dialogue,
yeah,
not with the vehicle, the
yeah,
exterior,
yeah, right.
but open up to that interior, we will actually find there is so much succinctness, so much in common.
Mm,
And even if we don't necessarily agree, what we would definitely find maybe is an understanding why that disagreement is there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
unless we're willing to put aside this whole, you know, vehicle thing, you know, my
Mm.
Maserati is better than your Mini, you know, it's like, you know, it's what's the engine like, folks?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What's our
yeah.
engine like?
Can I look under the hood there?
um, I'm delighted that you're here on this network, and you know, as a Reverend of 40 years and with your Victorious Living, coaching that you do. You know, you're so broad-minded, broad-hearted, broad-souled, and you know, we're always talking about how we wish we could hug each other, because you are a huggable person, and people are going to see that. I'm very excited with the people and the diversity that you're going to bring on, because the only way we're actually going to understand why people are different is to talk about it, and then realize that those differences aren't so different after all. It may be, as you pointed out, different verbiage.
Yes.
Right? Or coming from a different understanding. And then if we're willing to open up and listen and learn, we'll realize there is more in common than there is different. So having such diverse people coming on is really going to broaden people's minds, because you are not in for the mudslinging. You don't want anything on your Facebook or anything about, you know, Christian this or that, you know, cabal that, or anything like that. This is about people who wish to learn, who wish to grow, who wish to connect, who wish to ignite, and become part of the village that you're building for them.
Exactly. We're about changing the world. We're about waking up. We just had a session here yesterday that I was a part of, and years ago I was confronted with determining, okay, so what is your life purpose? Why am I here? And that's a question that every human being at some point in their life is confronted with. And what came to me so clearly years ago was, I am here to personally awaken and to help as many people as I can to awaken to their true nature. So this is part of fulfilling that that call, that purpose in my life, and to help people, you know, get free from a lot of this bondage that, you know, it's for me, Christ came to set captives free, and the institutionalized church has been busy putting them back in bondage ever since. And again, I'm not trying to put the church down or anything, but let's just recognize what we're doing. And for people who are stuck or being held hostage by some form of mental bondage to traditions or whatever, if you ask with desire in your heart, God will speak to you and lead you and direct you into a path, and it may take you down paths that you never imagined you would go down. It may take you down a path that leads you to someone that will do some energy work on you, some Reiki, that will help release some of these things. In the Bible, they talk about casting out demons. Well, I know some practitioners, energy workers that aren't Christian, but they sure cast out some demons. I've seen it myself. So, you know, it's all about, and Jesus even said, I have many sheep that are not of this fold. So there's countless scriptures about that, where we want to make everybody just like us. And
but having the diverse religions on there, and I hope it's going to be extreme diverse, and then, you know, looking to what the common denominator is, you know, what the message is. You know, religion has turned into something that is control, that in a form of slavery, and it has become a form of hate. And instead of love, you know, I like what the Pope said, all faith, it doesn't matter what it is, should be based in love and kindness. And I agree in that. And, you know, that self-love and kindness has to be there in order to give and to receive. So first be your own, you know, fortify your own vessel, and oxygenate yourself, because you cannot breathe life into others if you're gasping for breath. You know, one of the reasons I think we connected so well, apart from that you're just a divine person, is we're both soul awakeners. You know, that is our chosen, you know, not our, you know, we didn't choose it, got chosen for us. We just woke up to it, right? And that's what it is take off the exterior, the fear, the nationality, the this, the that, and start looking at what is your soul telling you? What is your heart telling you? What does your spirit want to do? Then trust the mind and the knowledge that you need to do it in. And it's, I think it's something that's really, really important. And I'm so glad that you're bringing this to us. So can you just give us an indication of some of the people that you're going to be bringing to us?
Well, we'll be talking with Sandra Sorbin, who is an energy worker. She works with essential oils. She actually even teaches essential oils basics, and she has several certifications there and with energy work. We're going to be talking with, my goodness, Pastor Dana. His last name is eluding me now, but I've just met him recently. Great spirit. He is the senior minister at Renaissance Unity. There is, Daniel Gutierrez. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to be reaching out to him. He is a shamanic instructor, and we want to reach out. There are broad, many traditions that are just so profound, and Daniel comes out of, I believe it's Mayan shamanic.
Yes, he's been on with us before in the past.
Okay,
actually. Yes.
okay.
Daniel Gutierrez,
So, and Daniel and I, first time I spoke with him, we hit it off so well. So the world is changing. Even the Schumann resonance, the Schumann frequency of the earth is changing.
Yes.
The vibration is increasing.
God. And this is actually where we're going to actually see a lot of people fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
And I call it, you've heard me say it before, third, fourth, and fifth dimension. The third dimension is that choose to live in the hate, the judgment, the loathing, and unwilling to go out of anything out of that realm. The fourth dimension is of the people that are waking up, soul awakening, heart awakening, and now are hungry for knowledge. Fifth dimension is of those that have gone ahead and now teaching it. And of course, we're already embracing our sixth dimension and seven and waking up to that. And I love the fact that, you're going to be interviewing pastors, but you're also going to be interviewing other spiritual leaders, each with their own gift.
Yes.
That is their God-chosen gift that was given to them, because that's the thing. We're all given a gift.
Right.
This is our purpose. This is what we were given to do. And when we embrace that, then that love and that soul, that heart and that spirit in alignment allows us to do it so well. And to understand that God's healing, or Gus's healing, isn't just coming from under the umbrella of a church or a priest, pastor, or reverend, that it's coming through all vessels in their ways of teaching. And of course, oils have been used since the beginning of time anyway.
And we just, Sandra just did a piece at my church, the healing oils of the Bible. And we just went right from the scriptures. And here they all are: the spikenard, the frankincense, the myrrh, the cassia, all of these things, the cedar wood.
Yes.
So, and then we'll be talking, we're going to have Jerry Fathauer on, who is my Enneagram instructor, and talking about the spiritual aspects of Enneagram. She's also an energy healer. And her partner, Jeff, who is he's been an instructor in transcendental meditation and is an Akashic record reader. So there's so many things that are available to us as human beings in Gus's world. That, again, some traditions say, "Oh, stay away from that." Stay. Why? In the book of Genesis, God looked at all that he created and beheld it was good.
Yeah. And you're a reverend of your own church, 40 years, and Christian. And of course, people think, "Oh, well, you should be this."
I'm a heretic. They're going to burn me at the stake.
Yeah. Been there, done that, darling. Just a little fried meat. The thing is, you're talking Gus, God, universe, spirit. You're talking about divine energy. You're talking about the God within us and how to let that God out. You're talking about the very spirit of love and kindness towards one another. So
Yes.
you're talking Gus language, God language.
Yeah.
And instead of it just being restricted under one doctrine, you're
Right.
talking universal.
Right.
And how
Right.
it's brought out and everybody. And that is beautiful and obviously so in sync with what self-discovery is about. And that's why we love having you here. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, is to open our hearts and minds to the fact that
Yes.
we are so much more than these little boxes that we've been put into. Break free, everybody. Knock the
Yeah.
boxes
Yeah.
down. There's a beautiful
Yes.
world
Yes.
out here. Come and join us.
It sure is. I'm also hoping to get Dr. Sumita Khatri, who's a dear friend of mine. I do some work with Cleveland Clinic. I'm on a professional advisory committee there, and Dr. Khatri is Hindu, and we have had some discussions about the similarities of our faiths. And
Yes.
so, just again, different people from different walks of life that are
Yeah,
dealing.
I hope you're going to do Jewish. I hope you're going to do
Oh, yeah.
Halal.
Oh, yeah.
I
We're
hope you're
going to
going to
talk
do.
about Kabbalah.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Because the hate comes from ignorance. That's where the fear
Exactly.
is, because it's ignorance. So
Exactly.
the more we
Exactly.
actually understand,
Yeah.
the foundations, the core, the common denominators, then the more we can let go of that fear and that judgment, which is a
Absolutely.
human thing. You don't
Yes.
see, a bunch of squirrels there having a foreman to judge the squirrel because it picked up too many nuts. This is,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
human species is utterly incredible, but we
Yes, we
also
are.
can be the worst of the worst. And,
Yes.
again, it
Yeah.
comes down to our choices.
But we have to wake up to who
Yes.
we really are.
And what
I
we're
have
meant to
said
be.
it. I've said it. I've taught it. I've preached it.
Yep. And
The
you've lived
human
it.
race is suffering from identity theft. We
Yes.
have had
Yes.
our true identity stolen from us.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're going to do it. We're going to do it, Sara. We're going to
Yes.
do it.
Yes. Brought people back on the right track, and that track is, first and foremost, learn to love yourself, because
Absolutely.
the God is within you. And even if
Yeah.
you are atheist, listen to this. I don't care if you don't believe in any God whatsoever, because we're talking about that universal energy. If you're a scientist and just want to look at it from the energy point of view, the frequency, do it. I don't care what label you put on it, but understand it's all the same thing.
And it's you. It's who you are. And
Exactly.
you and Gus
Yeah.
are the same.
Exactly.
So that's wow.
Yes.
That'll bake your noodle, I'll guarantee you.
Well, I love, we're going to be gussing it here.
Yes, we're going to get all gussied up.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And, we had fun coming up with the title of The World According to Gus, which I think is perfect. And
well, that was your work, so I can't give you credit for that, but I thought that was great. And we're going to have a lot of fun with it. We're going to learn some things together. We're going to have some great guests on, and we do have, if you go on Facebook and you look up The World According to Gus, there is a Facebook page that you can sign up for, get on there, and that'll be a great place to ask questions and share your comments. I encourage you to ask questions there that we can answer on these programs as they come up, because again, it's all about, where are you and where do you want to be? And we're here committed to trying to help you find that truth, discover that truth for yourself. We are only catalysts. We only are signs. We're fingers pointing you to, but you are the one that will discover your very own personal truth.
The igniters. Right? Just, opening up that and setting up the flame. And of course, on your Facebook, it is inviting people who are really inquiring, who really want to broaden their heart, mind, soul, spirit. It is not a bashing. Anything like that will be deleted.
It will be, absolutely.
And if you truly actually want to understand what is the difference, or what is this, or what is that, ask your question. You will incorporate it into the shows. Your shows are going to be bi-weekly for now, but I know there's going to be so much pressure on him to do it weekly. So look out for that. That's coming up. Yep. And of course, the sponsorship is open for the shows as well, because this is what Self-Discovery Radio, which will be soon Self-Discovery Radio /TV, is all about. And it is about us bringing to you knowledge that allows you to make decisions from a different place. right?
Absolutely.
We're not doing it for you. We're not putting you on a set road. What it is, it's knowledge to put in your backpack on your journey of life. That would just allow you to live a journey that is more fruitful and more meaningful because of that knowledge.
Absolutely. Reach out, discover. This is all about, we're all explorers. We are all, we've all got a spark of divinity in us, and there's so much that Gus has for us. It's all about, again, awakening to that amazing person that you are. I tell people all the time, God didn't make you who you are and then look and say, oh, I screwed up. You know, you're exactly how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And
don't sell yourself short. All right. You know, we're so much more than we allow ourselves to be.
Exactly.
Society's dictated that we should only be this.
Yeah.
Break free, put the barrier, you know, knock the barriers down, become all that you are meant to be, because you're beautifully abundant and we need you.
That is exactly right. You know, don't should on yourself or anybody else. You know, you just be you and love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So we will look forward to, and Sara, thank you so much for the kind of instigating this. We're looking forward to some just awesome programs, and I'm looking forward to being in the same boat you were in with some of our guests, where we're saying we've got to do another show. We've got to extend this. So,
and round tables, do some round tables as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be really good. And I kind of I'm going to play prophet here. I'm prophesying that you will possibly even as early as 2019 be hearing about maybe up in the northwestern United States or Canada, a live event with some of the folks from Self-Discovery Radio.
That is on the
TV.
Agenda. That is on the agenda.
Uh-huh.
And that would be beautiful, which would be filmed and made into a movie, and the books and everything else. That's selfdiscoverycommunity.org, folks. That's a lot of that where that platform is happening. And as I said, Self-Discovery Radio is going to become Self-Discovery Radio /TV.
TV.
Get everything through that. And all you have to do is go to Self-Discovery Radio /TV and just look at the podcast shows, and you'll find The World According to Gus there. And and on his Facebook, World According to Gus, which we invite the interaction, because I'm so excited to see who you're going to bring. I'm really excited how you're going to open up these doors. We have some beautiful hosts on here. You're in great company. And I hope that, you know, what I would love to do is actually do a show with all of the hosts and what they bring, because we have beautiful Linusworth Mullins, who brings the wellness journey, which is about us connecting to our inner spirit and for our health. So she's another practitioner of Gus in her way, and she's also bringing in 3 people that are going to be bringing with roundtable, and it's actually talking about women of color and the issues that are around them. And then of course we have the beautiful Christina Hill from Channeling Ascensions, where you were a participant with us a few times, and the shows that she brings with Othello, her entity. And we're open to other people. I've got a couple of other people coming on in the near future as well. So awesome. You know, this is a family where we're guessing it everywhere, folks.
So you've got it, and just become part of our family. Stay in touch with all of them. You'll find other programs besides World According to Gus, as Sara just pointed out. Discover, have fun, visit around, and become part of the family. Stay in touch with all that we're doing here, and just grow. Allow yourself to open up and blossom into that amazing person that will help spread this light and love throughout this world.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So until our next program, which will probably be 2 weeks from today, which is September the 4th.
Today's September the 4th, so the next channel will be, hang on folks, the 18th.
The 18th will be We'll have another program for you. I'm not 100% sure who it's going to be at this time. We got a couple of people, but we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn and discover. I'm looking forward to learning and discovering some new things myself. And we're going to have some fun as we grow and as we get set free.
Yes. And we're never too old, are we? We're never too old to spread our wings and learn something new, right?
I'm 462 and I'm still learning.
I'm a couple of thousand years old and, I look pretty good for it.
Yeah, you're looking mighty fine there.
Age is just the vessel's number, not the spirit's
exactly
number.
Right. That's exactly right. So until next time, The World According to Gus, I'm your host, Charles Eduardos. Thank you to my guest, Sara Troy of Self-Discovery Radio /TV. And stay in touch with us.
Yes.
Till next time, love and peace.
For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcast and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.